Coffee Break. Thoughtful conversations for a busy world. Let's begin.
I want you to picture a specific scenario, and I'm willing to bet this is a feeling every single person listening has experienced at some point. It's, say, 6 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Yep, I know this feeling.
You've been at your desk since 8 a.m. Your eyes are burning. You have, 20 tabs open in your browser, and you've replied to 40 emails.
Mm-hmm.
You've reorganized your Trello board, you've color-coded your Google Calendar, and maybe you've even read 3 articles about optimizing workflow or the habits of highly effective CEOs. You are absolutely exhausted.
Fried.
Completely fried. Your brain feels like fried circuitry. But then you close your laptop and you have this sinking, hollow realization.
Oh yeah, the pit in your stomach.
You look at the one thing, that big project, that novel you've been talking about for years, that business launch, that fitness goal, and you realize something terrifying. You haven't moved it forward a single inch. Not one.
It is the most frustrating sensation in the world. It's the classic treadmill effect.
The treadmill effect. I like that.
You have the sweat on your brow, your heart rate is up, you've burned the caloric energy, you've done the work, but your geographical location hasn't changed.
Right.
You are exactly where you started. And the tragedy is that the exhaustion is real. You aren't faking the tiredness, but the progress.
The progress is an illusion.
It's a total illusion.
Exactly. It is high sweat, zero distance living, and the worst part is you don't feel lazy. I think that's the key.
No, not at all.
If you were sitting on the couch eating nachos and binge watching reality TV, you'd know you were slacking off. You'd feel that pang of guilt. You'd say, okay, I'm wasting time.
Right. There's a clear signal from your conscience saying this is not what you should be doing.
But in this scenario, you feel virtuous. You feel busy. You can tell your spouse, your friends, yourself, I worked all day. But deep down, you know you didn't do the thing that matters.
That's the trap. That is the precise mechanism we are taking apart today. We are doing a deep dive into a concept that I think ruins more dreams than laziness ever could. It's called productive procrastination.
Productive procrastination. It sounds like an oxymoron. It's like jumbo shrimp or deafening silence.
Yeah.
How can procrastination possibly be productive?
It does sound contradictory, but it's actually a very, very sophisticated psychological defense mechanism. It is, I would argue, one of the biggest traps for smart, motivated, high-achieving people.
Why for them specifically?
Because they're good at being busy, they're good at research, they're good at planning. They take those skills and they turn them into a shield. It's the art of doing the wrong work to avoid doing the hard work. It's looking busy to avoid looking at the fear.
And today, we are pulling this directly from a fascinating piece of source material titled The Action First Antidote to Productive Procrastination. And I have to say, reading through the source material felt a bit like a personal attack.
I get that. It can be uncomfortable.
It was so uncomfortable. It holds up a mirror to all those behaviors we tell ourselves are responsible, and it labels them as hiding.
It's definitely a mirror for anyone who considers themselves a perfectionist. The core mission of this deep dive today is to expose the difference, the very subtle, very blurry difference between genuine preparation, which is obviously necessary,
of course,
and this productive procrastination, which is fatal to your goals. We want to help you identify if you are currently stuck in what we call the research phase, and more importantly, we want to give you the permission and the psychological tools to stop planning and actually start doing.
Sophisticated hiding. I love that phrase, and I also hate how accurate it is. So if you are listening to this and there is a project you have been getting ready for, maybe for a few weeks, maybe for a few years, stick around. This is going to be the intervention you didn't know you needed.
And we should clarify right up front, this isn't about being hasty or reckless. We aren't telling you to go jump off a cliff without checking if you have a parachute.
Right, it's not about being unprepared.
It's about understanding that getting ready is often a disguise for fear.
That's the hook. That is the entire hook of this conversation. The source makes this really bold assertion right at the top, and it says, preparation is a tool, but procrastination is a cage.
A cage is a great visual. I think it's perfect. Because we build it ourselves, bar by bar. A book you read is a bar. A course you buy is another bar. That new planner is a bar.
Oh, man.
And eventually you've built this fortress of information around yourself, but you can't get out. You are trapped by your own preparation. And what we're going to do for the next hour is explore exactly how we build that cage and then figure out how to break out of it.
Okay, Let's start with section 1, the trap of productive procrastination. We need to define this phenomenon clearly because, like we said, it's tricky. It camouflages itself as work. The source defines it as the act of staying busy with low-stakes preparation to avoid high-stakes work.
I want to double-click on that distinction. Low stakes versus high stakes. That is the entire mechanism right there.
Okay, break it down.
See, the word productive is attached to this term for a reason. It is dangerous precisely because it feels like work. If you are sitting around playing video games when you should be writing your book, you know you are procrastinating.
Right. Total guilt.
There is guilt attached to it. The internal narrative says, I am wasting time. I am being lazy.
Right. You feel the guilt, so eventually you might shame yourself into working. But with productive procrastination, that guilt alarm doesn't go off.
Exactly. The alarm is silent.
Yeah.
Because you are working. You're doing things that are, theoretically related to the goal. You're clearing the path. You're sharpening the axe. The problem is you spend 3 years sharpening the axe and you never chop down the tree.
And because you're sharpening, you feel like a woodsman.
You feel like a great woodsman, the best axe sharpener in the forest. It lacks the guilt of lazy procrastination, so there is no internal trigger to tell you to stop.
But let's go back to the stakes. Why is preparation low stakes? What does that mean?
Because it's private. And it's controllable. If I sit in my room and read a book about how to write a screenplay, nobody sees me fail.
Sure.
If I outline the screenplay in a beautiful notebook, nobody critiques it. The stakes are zero. My ego is safe. I am the master of my own domain in the preparation phase.
But if you actually write the scene and show it to someone...
High stakes. Now I can be judged. Now I can be rejected. Now I can be proven to be not good enough. So, productive procrastination is the brain's clever way of keeping us in the low-stakes zone while making us feel like we are making progress.
It's a simulation of progress. The source mentions a very specific trap that I think illustrates this perfectly, and I'm just going to say it. Buying the gear, the course, or the planner. Oh, man. This hit home. It's the consumption as creation fallacy.
It is the easiest trap to fall into because consumerism is designed to feel like problem solving. It's a shortcut to a feeling of accomplishment. When you buy something, you feel a sense of completion. The transaction itself provides closure.
It really does. Problem, I'm not fit. Solution, buy gym membership. Check.
Problem, I'm not organized. Solution, buy this $30 planner. Check. You feel like you've done something, but all you've done is spend money.
Let's break this down with some detailed examples because I think we need to see what this looks like in the wild. The source alludes to a few archetypes, and I want to really paint the picture. Let's start with the fitness example. It's the archetype of the gearhead.
This is a classic. Picture someone who decides, okay, 2024 is the year I run a marathon. A noble goal.
Great goal.
Now, the action-first approach, which we will get to later, would be put on whatever sneakers you own, go outside, run until you're tired. Done. That is running.
But that's uncomfortable and unglamorous, and your knees might hurt. You don't have the right playlist.
Right. It's messy. So instead, you enter the productive procrastination loop. You start researching shoes. And you don't just buy a pair. You become a temporary expert on podiatry.
Oh, totally. You're on runners' forums. You're watching hours of YouTube reviews.
You're learning about pronation, supination, heel strike versus midfoot strike. You are reading scientific papers on energy return in foam soles. You're reading reviews of moisture-wicking fabrics versus merino wool. You buy the Garmin watch with the GPS tracking and the heart rate variability monitor that costs $600.
And it feels like you're training, doesn't it? The research feels like part of the marathon prep.
It feels like it. You spend 3 weeks researching the optimal hydration strategy. Should you use gels or chews? What's your sodium intake? And when that Amazon box finally arrives...
Oh, that's the best part.
You open it up, you lay out all the new gear on your bed, and you feel great.
You feel like an athlete.
You feel like an athlete. You get a dopamine hit that says, I have achieved something. You've identified as a runner, but you haven't run a single mile.
You've effectively stolen the reward from your future self. You got the high without the sweat. The shopping felt like the athletic act.
Precisely. And here's the kicker. Often, having the perfect gear becomes a barrier. Now, you can't run because it's raining, and you don't want to ruin the new shoes.
Yes. Or you can't run because you haven't figured out how to program the watch yet, and you want to track your data perfectly from the very first run.
You've added complexity to a simple act. The barrier to entry, which was zero, just walk out the door, is now mentally inflated to this huge, complex ritual.
It's fascinating because the shopping feels like a prerequisite. I can't run until I have the right shoes. But usually you have a pair of old sneakers in the closet that would work fine for a 1-mile jog.
It would be perfectly fine. But it's not about the shoes. It's about delaying the moment you have to face the discomfort of actually running.
Okay, let's look at another one the source brings up, the entrepreneur. This is the founder who doesn't have a business yet.
Oh, I see this all the time. This is the LLC and logo phase. I know people who have spent 6 months debating the color palette of their brand.
6 months.
6 months. Should the blue be navy blue or midnight blue? What does midnight blue say about our corporate ethos versus navy blue? They are agonizing over the font choice for the website. They are writing a 40-page business plan with projections for year 5.
When they haven't made a single dollar in year 1.
Exactly. They are playing business. It's like playing house when you're a kid. You're moving the furniture around, but nobody lives there.
That's a great way to put it.
They're doing everything except the one thing that makes a business real. Asking someone for money in exchange for value.
Because asking for money is scary.
It's terrifying.
Rejection is scary.
Rejection is scary.
Yeah.
Choosing a font is safe. Choosing a font feels like progress, but it's actually a wall. It's a way to delay the moment of truth.
The moment of truth.
The moment of truth is when the market tells you if your idea is actually good or not. It's when you launch. It's when you ask for the sale. And we will delay that moment as long as possible by polishing the brand.
We tell ourselves we are building a foundation.
But really, we're building a bunker to hide in.
Let's do one more because the source mentions creators, and I think this is huge right now. The aspiring YouTuber or podcaster, the tutorial loop.
This is the modern version of the library trap. You want to start a channel? Great. That's fantastic. The action is record your voice on your phone and upload it.
But no, you can't do that. The audio quality.
The audio quality?
Yeah.
Right. You convince yourself you can't record on your phone. You need the Shure SM7B microphone because that's what Joe Rogan uses. You need the sound-treated room. You need to learn Adobe Audition or DaVinci Resolve.
So you watch tutorials.
Hours of them. Days of them. You watch generic YouTube videos about how to grow your channel. Before you have a channel to grow, you are consuming content about creating content instead of creating content.
It feels like learning, though. That's the trick, isn't it? It feels so productive.
Yes. They are watching other people do the thing they want to do, and by osmosis, they feel like they're getting better at it. But they haven't hit the record button on a messy first draft. They are preparing for a masterpiece that will never exist because they won't allow themselves to make a bad first attempt.
It really is an illusion of progress. I want to circle back to that dopamine hit you mentioned a minute ago. Why does our brain trick us like this? Why does buying a planner feel, in the moment, as good as finishing a project?
It's biochemical. Our brains are not always great at distinguishing between the symbol of the thing and the thing itself. It's a quirk of our wiring.
How so?
When you buy the planner, you are visualizing your organized life. You are imagining yourself checking off all the boxes. The brain releases dopamine in anticipation of that future reward. You get the high of the result before you've done the work.
So, in a way, you've already cashed the check. You've gotten the reward feeling. So the motivation to actually do the hard, boring work of filling out the planner day after day.
It evaporates. The neurochemical incentive is gone. You've already experienced the win in your mind. The source makes a vital distinction here that we should highlight. It distinguishes between motion and action.
Okay, I think this is critical. This is the mental model to take away.
It is. This is a concept that James Clear often talks about, and it fits perfectly here.
Okay, lay it out for us. Motion versus action.
Motion is planning, strategizing, learning, brainstorming. Those things are good. They are sometimes necessary, but they do not produce a result on their own.
Okay.
And action. Action, on the other hand, is the behavior that delivers an outcome. It's the thing that produces a result.
Give me a litmus test. How do I know if I'm in motion or action?
Simple. Can the activity result in a failure or a success external to you?
Okay, an external result.
Yes. If I outline 20 ideas for articles I want to write, that is motion. I can't fail at outlining in my own notebook. Nobody sees it. But if I actually sit down, write one paragraph, and hit publish, that is action.
Because now it's out there.
Because now nobody might read it. Or they might read it and hate it. That's a potential failure. That's action.
So if I'm a salesperson and I make a list of 100 people to call, that's motion.
That's motion.
If I pick up the phone and call one person,
that's action. Because they can hang up on you.
If I search for a diet plan, that's motion. If I eat a healthy meal, that's action.
You've got it. Motion feels like progress, but it's really just preparing to get ready. And the trap of productive procrastination is getting stuck in motion forever. You are spinning your wheels.
There's a lot of activity.
A lot of activity, a lot of noise, a lot of smoke, but the car isn't moving down the road. You can spend your whole life in motion and die with potential, but no legacy.
That is dark, but true. It's a bit of a gut punch. So the key question we need to ask our listeners right now, and be honest with yourselves here, is, are you just gathering necessary info, or are you researching to avoid starting?
And the litmus test for that is simple. If you stopped researching today and just started with what you know, could you make some progress? Even a tiny bit.
Just one small step.
If the answer is yes, then the research is procrastination.
That is confronting. Could you make some progress? The answer is almost always yes, isn't it?
Almost always.
Okay, let's move into section 2. We know what it looks like. We know it feels good in a perverse way. But why do we do it? What is the psychology underneath this getting ready obsession?
The source points to a very deep, primal fear. It's the fear of being a beginner in public.
Oh, this is a big one. The older we get, the harder this is. When you're a kid, you're a beginner at everything. You stumble, you fall, you look silly. It's expected. It's part of the job of being a kid.
Exactly. It's your default state. But as an adult, you've built an identity around competence. You are good at your job. You are a respected member of your community. You know how to drive, how to pay taxes, how to navigate the world.
You're an expert in your own life.
You are. You're accustomed to feeling competent. You wear that competence like armor.
So stepping into a new arena, whether it's starting a business, learning a language, or painting, means stripping away that armor.
Exactly. You have to take it off and stand there naked, in a sense. When you are in the research phase, your armor is on. You are safe. You are in a position of control.
You're the one holding the book. You're the one in charge.
You are reading the books by the experts. You understand the theory of the business. In your head, the business is perfect. It has no flaws. The revenue projections are always up and to the right. The novel is a bestseller.
But the moment you start...
you are clumsy. You are bad. Your first sales call is awkward. Your first draft is riddled with typos. Your first run is slow, and you're wheezing.
You sound like you're dying.
You go from a theoretical master to an actual novice. And the ego hates that. The ego screams. It says, wait a minute, I am a smart, successful person. I cannot be seen struggling with basic conjugation, or whatever the task is.
Nobody wants to look foolish. I think that's the core of it. We are terrified that people will see us trying and failing. It's almost like we'd rather be the person who could have done it than the person who tried and did it badly.
That is a profound point. As long as you are in the planning phase, the dream remains perfect. It is untainted by reality.
Right. In my head, I'm already a best-selling author. The book is brilliant.
It's perfect.
Oh.
There's a safety in potential. I have this great idea for a book. As long as you don't write it, it remains a great idea. As soon as you write it, it becomes a tangible object that can be criticized, ignored, or rejected.
And that's terrifying. So, I'm not ready is really just a shield. The source calls it a defense mechanism.
Yes. The source explicitly says, why I'm not ready is usually a defense mechanism against potential failure. It's a very simple equation. If I never launch, I can never fail.
It's a logical tautology.
It's bulletproof logic. The research phase is a safe harbor. It protects the ego from the harsh reality of the market or the audience.
And it's such a clever defense mechanism because it sounds so responsible. That's the productive part again. If you tell your friends, I haven't launched the podcast yet because I'm just too lazy, you look bad. But if you say, I haven't launched yet because I'm doing a deep dive on audio engineering to make sure the quality is top tier for the listeners.
You sound prudent. You sound professional. You sound like you care.
You are signaling high standards. But those high standards are actually serving as a barrier to entry. You are using excellence as an excuse for avoidance.
And everyone around you buys it. They nod and say, oh, that's smart. Good for you for being so thorough. They validate your procrastination because it's dressed up so nicely.
I want to push back on this slightly just to play devil's advocate. Isn't there a real risk of looking unprofessional? If I launch something half-baked, don't I damage my reputation? Isn't getting ready about quality control?
That is the common objection. That's the one everyone reaches for. I'm a perfectionist. But let's look at that word. Perfectionism is often just fancy, more noble-sounding word for insecurity.
Ouch. That stings a little.
It does. But it's often true. It's not really about high standards. It's about a crippling fear of judgment.
So the focus isn't on the quality of the work, but on the reception of the work.
Precisely. Think about the most successful people, the most successful companies. Did they launch perfect things? No. The first iPhone didn't have an app store. It didn't have copy-paste. It was deeply flawed by today's standards.
The first version of Facebook was a crude directory for a single college.
Exactly. They launched, they got feedback, and they iterated.
Yeah.
The action-first mindset doesn't mean produce garbage. It means produce the best you can right now and accept that it won't be perfect. It's about shipping version 1.0, not waiting for version 10.
So I'm not ready is really a lie we tell ourselves.
It's a socially acceptable lie. It's a very sophisticated one. We use our intellect to build these complex rationalizations for why we are standing still. We think if we just read one more book, we will find a map that shows us exactly where all the potholes are so we never have to bump our heads.
But the map isn't the territory.
Exactly. And that leads us perfectly into section 3, the myth of ready.
This is where we start to dismantle the excuse. The source explores this concept that ready is a destination we are trying to reach. Like, if I just study for 2 more weeks, I will arrive at Ready City. I'll park the car, get out, and say, okay, now I can begin.
But Ready City is a mirage. It doesn't exist. The horizon of knowledge always moves. The more you learn about a topic, the more you realize you don't know.
It's the Dunning-Kruger effect in reverse.
It's exactly that. When you know nothing, you think, how hard can it be to start a business? But the more you learn, the more you realize the complexity. You learn about the legal risks, the tax implications, the competitor strategies, and suddenly the project feels overwhelming. Impossible, even.
So the more you research, the less ready you actually feel.
Often, yes. The research that was meant to build your confidence actually erodes it because it reveals the true scale of the mountain you're trying to climb.
So you're saying you will never feel 100% ready?
Never. It is a psychological and practical impossibility because you cannot know what you don't know until you start. There are problems that will arise in the execution of a project that no amount of planning could have predicted.
The unknown unknowns.
The unknown unknowns. And sometimes, a little bit of ignorance can be a bias for action. If you knew how hard it was really going to be, you might never start.
The source has a great quote on this. At some point, the only way to prepare is to begin.
It's the truth. Let's go back to an analogy we touched on earlier, swimming. It's perfect for this.
Okay.
You can read every book on the physics of buoyancy. You can watch Olympic swimmers in slow motion. You can practice the arm movements on your living room rug. You can study the chemical composition of chlorine. But are you ready to swim?
No, because you haven't been in the water. You're just a person standing by a pool with a lot of head knowledge. A very well-informed non-swimmer.
Right. And the first time you jump in, the water provides feedback that the books cannot. The cold shock on your skin, the water going up your nose, the feeling of weightlessness. You cannot simulate that. You have to experience it.
The book can't teach you the feeling of panic when you swallow water for the first time.
It can't. The preparation of reading the book is helpful, sure. It gives you a framework, but it is not the thing. You are not a swimmer until you get wet.
So the feedback you get from the water is different from the feedback you get from the book.
It's high-fidelity feedback.
Oh.
Reality provides high-fidelity feedback. Books provide low-fidelity theory. You cannot solve the specific problems of your project until you create the problems by starting.
That's a key insight. You have to create the problems. I've never thought of it that way.
Yes, you have to generate the problems.
Yeah.
You can't solve a problem you don't have yet. Right now, if you haven't started, your only problem is, I don't have a business.
Right.
You can't solve, how do I handle customer returns until you have a customer who wants to return something. You are trying to solve level 10 problems when you are on level 0.
And I think the danger of waiting until you feel ready is that while you are waiting, the world is moving.
Yeah.
There's a real cost to this waiting game. It's not a neutral act.
The opportunity cost.
Yeah.
This is what people forget. They think waiting is neutral. I'm just pausing. I'm taking my time to do it right. No, you are losing time. And while you are perfecting the plan in your little bunker,
Someone else is out there.
someone else, someone who is perhaps less talented, less smart, less prepared than you, is launching.
They are launching an imperfect version.
Yes, they are launching a messy, ugly version 1.0. And guess what? They're learning. They're getting real-world feedback. They're iterating. They're finding out what customers actually want, not what they just customers wanted.
So by the time you finally decide you are ready,
By the time you finally decide you are ready to launch your perfect version, they are already on version 3.0. They have surpassed you, not because they knew more at the start, but because they started sooner.
That stings. It's the idea that speed of implementation often beats quality of planning.
In almost every domain, yes. Obviously, if you are building a bridge or doing brain surgery, please plan. Let's be clear about that.
Yes, please. A lot of prep work there.
But for the things we are talking about, creative work, entrepreneurship, lifestyle changes, the risk is low. The cost of failure is embarrassment, not death. The feedback loop is king. The faster you can get from idea to execution to feedback, the faster you learn. Productive procrastination severs that loop. It keeps you in the idea phase where there is no feedback.
It keeps you safe, but it also keeps you stupid, in a way. You're not learning from reality.
You're not.
Yeah.
So I think we need to just say it plainly. Readiness is often just a socially acceptable word for fear. When we say, I'm not ready, we usually mean I'm scared.
And that's a much harder thing to admit.
If we were honest with ourselves, the vocabulary would change. Instead of, I need to do more research, we would say, I am terrified of looking stupid. And if you acknowledge the fear, you can deal with it. You can't deal with research. Research is a bottomless pit. Fear is an emotion you can manage.
Okay, so we've identified the trap, we've psychoanalyzed why we're in it, and we've debunked the idea that we can ever wait it out. So what do? How do we break the cycle? This brings us to Section 4, the action-first model.
This is the solution the source proposes. It requires flipping the script on how we learn and how we approach work.
The concept is the action-first model. Talk to me about the difference between learning while doing versus learning to avoid doing. That seems to be the core of it.
This is the critical shift. Most of us operate on a learn-then-do model. We were trained in school to front-load information. You study the textbook for the semester, then you take the test. You learn the theory, then you apply it.
That works for history class, but it fails in the real world.
It fails spectacularly in the real world. Learning to avoid doing is reading the 5th book on marketing before you have a product to market. It's redundancy. It feels safe, but it's wasteful. You're just reviewing the same core concepts in a different package.
Learning while doing is different. This is often called just-in-time learning versus just-in-case learning.
That's a great way to frame it. Just-in-case learning is hoarding, I better learn everything about corporate tax law just in case I need it for my business someday.
You'll forget 99% of it by the time you need it.
Exactly. Just-in-time learning is,
Yeah.
I have a client who wants to pay me right now. How do I send an invoice? You Google how to send an invoice with QuickBooks. You learn it in 5 minutes. You apply it immediately.
That is so much more efficient because the knowledge sticks when you have a place to put it. You have a problem to solve right now.
Exactly. When you learn something in the abstract, your brain dumps it because it has no hook to hang it on. When you learn something to solve a specific immediate problem, you retain it. So the action-first model says, start the project, do something, run into a wall. Then, and only then, research how to climb that specific wall.
So you're not reading the whole encyclopedia of wall climbing. You're just looking up the technique for the 5-foot brick wall right in front of you.
Precisely. It shifts the entire mindset from a need for certainty to a willingness to experiment. You have to view your life and your work as a laboratory, not a performance.
A laboratory, not a performance. That is a great visual. I really like that.
In a performance, a mistake is bad. It ruins the show. In a lab, a mistake is data.
It's just information.
Oh, that didn't work. Interesting. Let's try B.
Yeah.
That is a scientist's mindset. And that connects back to the source's key quote that you mentioned earlier. Preparation is a tool. Procrastination is a cage.
And we build the cage ourselves.
We build the cage ourselves. Every tutorial we watch without taking action adds another bar to the cage. We lock ourselves in with information overload.
Information overload is real paralysis. When you know 10 different ways to do something, you often do none of them because you're trying to figure out the best way.
The paradox of choice. If you know one way to work out, you just do it. If you know 50 protocols, CrossFit, kettlebells, bodybuilding, powerlifting, you spend an hour on your phone debating which one is optimal for your body type.
And the hour is up and you haven't worked out.
And you haven't worked out.
So practically speaking, how do we identify when preparation has turned into the cage? What's the red flag? The source gives some specific heuristics.
The first one is a really simple metric, the input-output ratio.
Break that down for me.
Most of us operate on a ratio of like 100 to 1. We consume 100 hours of content, podcasts, books, videos for every 1 hour of creation or action.
Wow, 100 to 1.
Maybe even more.
Yeah.
The source calls this intellectual obesity.
Intellectual obesity? That is a haunting image, but it makes perfect sense. We are mentally bloated.
We are hoarding information, and hoarding is a fear-based behavior. We hoard because we are afraid we won't have what we need when the time comes. But in the information age, the answer is always at your fingertips. You don't need to hoard it. You can fetch it when you need it.
So you need to flip that ratio.
You need to dramatically shift that ratio. Aim for 1-to-1.
That's a tough ratio to keep. That's intense.
It is. But think about what it means. If you listen to a 1-hour deep dive on writing, you must write for 1 hour before you can listen to another one.
That would halt a lot of people's consumption habits in their tracks.
Good. That's the point. Stop eating. Start burning the calories.
Yeah.
The other red flag is repetition without application.
What does that look like?
If you are reading about the same concept for the third time, if you're reading a third book on how to write a novel, but you haven't written a single chapter, you are in the cage.
It's the rule of 3, maybe? Once is curiosity, twice is review, 3 times is avoidance.
I'd say even twice is suspicious. The rule should be learn one thing, do one thing, keep the ratio tight, learn a chord on the guitar, practice the chord. Don't learn 20 chords and practice none of them.
So the action first person thinks, I'll figure it out as I go, I'm resourceful.
Yes, that's the core belief. Productive procrastination is fundamentally a lack of faith in your future self. You think, I'm not smart enough to figure this out on the fly, so I better memorize the entire manual before I even turn the key.
Whereas the action first person?
The action first person trusts themselves to handle the unknown. They know they'll get stuck, but they believe they can get themselves unstuck when the time comes.
So let's start to wrap this up and summarize the journey we've been on. This has been a lot to take in.
We started by defining productive procrastination. It's a sophisticated form of fear that looks like work. It's busyness without progress. It's that low-stakes prep to avoid the high-stakes work.
We talked about the examples. Buying the gear isn't doing the work. The planner isn't the project. Tweaking the logo isn't the business.
Then we unpack the psychology, the fear of being a beginner, the ego's desperate need to look competent at all times, the research phase as a safe, comfortable place to hide from vulnerability.
And we busted the myth of ready. Ready is a ghost. It's a destination that doesn't exist. You'll never arrive. The only cure for the fear is action.
And finally, we offered the solution, the action-first model, just-in-time learning. Learn enough to take the next step, and repeat.
Now, we cannot let you leave this deep dive without a challenge. We don't want you to just listen to this and say, wow, that was insightful, and then go back to researching the best way to implement these ideas.
That would be the ultimate irony. That would be productive procrastination. Listening to a deep dive about procrastination instead of doing your work, you just productively procrastinated using an episode about productive procrastination.
Exactly. We cannot allow that. So here is the final challenge. We want you to take one ugly, imperfect action today, right now.
Define ugly. What does an ugly action look like?
Ugly means it's not polished. It's not perfect. It might have a typo. The lighting in the video might be bad. You might stutter when you make the call. It's version 0.1.
So send the email with the typo, post the video with the bad lighting, launch the product page before the logo's perfect, call the client before you have the script memorized.
Do the thing that makes you feel slightly nauseous, that little lurch in your stomach, that nausea. That's the signal.
Follow the nausea.
Follow the nausea. That means you are leaving the comfort zone of motion and entering the reality of action.
Stop preparing to do the thing and just do the thing. Break the seal. Once you break the seal of perfectionism, it becomes so much easier to keep going. The first one is the hardest.
I want to leave you with a final provocative thought, a question to carry with you. If you waited another year, let's say you spent another full year getting ready, researching, planning, buying courses, would you actually be any more prepared than you are right now?
Or would you just be a year older with a heavier notebook?
The notebook is heavy enough. Put it down. Seriously, don't queue up another episode. Don't check your email. Turn this off. Close your eyes, count to 3, and go do the thing. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
Thanks for spending this time with us on Coffee Break. If this conversation stayed with you, you can find more episodes here on the channel. Until next time, take care.